You never really know when a conversation will be your last. That night at Hannah's birthday party, none of us knew we were opening the door to something evil. Hannah was always the fearless one, the skeptic in our group. Horror stories, curses, haunted houses, she thought it was all nonsense. So, when she invited us over for her 30th birthday, it was just supposed to be a chill night. Wine, finger food, a few laughs. At first, everything was great. We drank, played a few silly games, and joked about old memories. But just as things were winding down, at exactly 2:59 a.m., the doorbell rang. It didn't just ring, it buzzed nonstop, like someone was hammering the button. She rolled her eyes, annoyed. Really? Who shows up this late? She walked to the door without hesitation. She flung the door open, but no one was there. Then Hannah noticed something, a package, perfectly wrapped, with a neat purple bow and a tag with her initials. All right, Hannah called over her shoulder, holding up the box. Which one of you is pulling this prank? We all shrugged. None of us had any idea where it came from. With a sly grin, Hannah placed the package on the table. Let's see what's inside. She unwrapped it, and there was a board game. At first, it seemed harmless. Just an ordinary game board, a dice, a tiny pawn, and a stack of cards. Each space on the board was numbered, and the instructions were simple. Roll the dice, move the pawn, read a card aloud. Hannah smirked. Well, this is dumb, but she was always up for a game, so she picked up the dice. What's the worst that could happen? She rolled. Number 3. She moved the pawn, drew a card, and read. Knock, knock. 2:59 a.m. I am cold. Open the door, please. I want to play. A chill ran down my spine. Hannah's grin faded. She looked around the table. Okay, who wrote this? Seriously, guys, what kind of joke is this? No one spoke, trying to play it off. Hannah grabbed another card. Let's see what this one says. Cheaters need to pay. 1 round without a play. Before anyone could react, the lights flickered. Then we heard it. The front door creaked open. All the hair on my arm stood up. That's not funny. We raced to the door. Sure enough, it was wide open, even though we were certain we had locked it. And worse, muddy footprints trailed inside, leading from the front door to the chair where Hannah had just been sitting. Panic set in. We checked the entire house, but everything seemed normal. No one was there. No signs of a break-in. Still, something felt deeply, terribly wrong. Let's stop playing. This isn't funny anymore. We packed the game away, and one by one, people left. I decided to stay the night with Hannah. I could see it in her eyes. She was scared, though she'd never admit it. I stayed on the couch. The storm outside raged, rain slamming against the windows. But something kept me awake. A heavy, suffocating feeling, like someone was watching me from the shadows. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I dozed off until I woke to a scream. It wasn't just any scream. It was Hannah's voice, shrill and raw, like she was being torn apart. I ran to her room. The door was already half open, and there she was standing beside her bed, perfectly still, her eyes wide open, her face pale and empty. She stared at me, but it was as if she didn't see me at all. Hannah. I stepped closer. She didn't move. That's when I saw it. A muddy stain on the floor beside her bed, fresh as if someone or something had stood right there. I called her name again, but she didn't respond. Her body felt cold to the touch, lifeless, but she was still breathing, just frozen like a puppet with its strings cut. I called the police immediately. They searched the house, found no signs of a break-in, and an ambulance took Hannah to the hospital. But even as they wheeled her away, I knew she wasn't really there anymore. Whatever had been in that game had taken her. I stayed behind, too shaken to sleep. By the time everything was over, the sun was just beginning to rise. The storm had passed, leaving the streets slick with rain. I made my way back home, feeling drained and numb. But just as I reached my front door, my heart nearly stopped. I turned slowly, and there, sitting on the wet porch, was the board game. No package this time, just the game, with a card tied to it by the same purple bow. My hands shook as I picked it up and read the card. Cheaters need to pay. 1 round without a play.